Have you ever, like, really tried to learn something new? And I mean really tried. But then the info, it's just all over the place.
Yeah.
Or maybe, you've got this, like, clear thought in your head, but when you try to, like, explain it, it just doesn't really land.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's what we're looking at today
Yeah.
with you. So we've got all this stuff from, like the ParaPro exam prep stuff.
Right.
So for this deep dive, let's try to figure out how to become well informed and then communicate really clearly.
Absolutely. Think of this as like unlocking a more efficient way to absorb knowledge,
Right.
but also to articulate it
Yeah.
in a way that resonates.
Okay, so first part, becoming well informed. And this might be surprising, but start big.
Yeah.
Encyclopedias,
Mhm.
general interest books, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
To build that initial understanding.
Right.
I know it's a little old school.
It is.
But you create that foundation before you get into the nitty-gritty.
Exactly. I think of it as like mental scaffolding.
Oh, I like that.
So you have the framework prevents like random facts
Yeah.
from just becoming these little isolated data points.
That's a great way to put it.
You're welcome.
Okay. So, also educational websites.
Yeah, those are good.
Those are really good for getting those quick overviews.
Just for accessible.
Right, exactly. And I know this is important to a lot of people, but staying current. Our sources really emphasize this, checking those newspapers, magazines, and, reputable online news sources
Mhm.
so you can keep up with the latest stuff, in specific fields,
Of course.
but also the world in general.
Right. And what's interesting here is how these different layers of sources kind of work together.
Right.
So you start broad,
Yeah.
you build that foundation.
Yep.
Then you stay current
Yeah.
with the news and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But then, when you really need to go deep, like on a specific topic, like maybe a certain historical period
Okay. Yeah.
or a really complex scientific concept, that's when you turn to those specialized, in-depth books and academic journals. They'll give you like detailed analysis
Yeah.
and nuanced discussions. You won't find those in general sources.
Right, right. Now, we could do a whole other deep dive on just like how to tell if an academic journal's credible.
Oh, absolutely.
Or like the different types of information in those sources. But that's for another time.
Yeah. We don't have time for that today.
Okay. So we've talked about how to take in information, but what about putting it out there, clearly?
Yeah, that's the other half.
So our resources, they've got some good practical advice on proofreading
Yeah,
and editing. And let's face it, that can make or break your message.
totally. And, our sources highlight two really common writing errors.
Oh,
Run-on sentences
uh-huh.
and sentence fragments.
Okay. Let's break those down for everyone listening.
Sure.
Run-on sentences. It's basically two complete thoughts
Right.
just crammed together without the right punctuation
Yeah.
or connecting words. You can usually feel it when you're reading, The sentence just keeps going.
It does. It does.
And it feels like it could be two separate ideas.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But the fixes are pretty simple.
Okay.
I can split them
Okay.
into two sentences
Okay.
with a period.
Gotcha.
So instead of I enjoy reading, it relaxes me.
Uh-huh.
You get to write I enjoy reading, it relaxes me.
Oh, okay.
Or you can connect them correctly, with a comma
Uh-huh.
and a coordinating conjunction
Okay.
like and, but, or.
Mhm.
So she writes well, her essays are excellent becomes she writes well and her essays are excellent.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. What about sentence fragments? What are those?
So those are kind of the opposite problem.
Okay.
They're like phrases
Uh-huh.
or incomplete sentences.
Right.
They're missing something,
Mm.
like a subject
Ah.
or a verb.
Mm.
But they're
Yeah.
presented as if they're like, complete thoughts. And you usually notice them because they don't really make sense
Right.
on their own.
Right. Okay. So how do you fix those?
Well, you can add the missing piece, like driven to the store.
Yeah.
That becomes a full sentence if you add
Yeah.
she.
Okay.
She drove to the store.
Right. Gotcha.
Or you complete the thought.
Mm-hmm.
So although he finished his homework,
Okay.
that's a fragment. But if you add he still needs to study for his test,
Yeah.
then you're good.
Although he finished his homework, he still needs to study for his test.
Okay, exactly.
So to recap, we've covered a lot. We talked about starting with those broad sources, like
Yeah.
your encyclopedias,
Mhm.
building that foundation,
Right.
stay current with news,
Of course.
then go deeper with more specific, specialized stuff. when
Exactly.
you need to. And then we talked about how to make sure that your writing is clear
Right.
by finding and fixing run-on sentences and sentence fragments.
Yes.
So if we tie this all together,
Yeah.
mastering both of these, like how you learn and then how you explain things,
That's powerful stuff.
it is. It's not just for a test.
Right.
It's for everything.
Absolutely. It really boosts like your ability to learn,
Yeah,
to understand,
right.
and to really have an impact on whatever you're interested in.
So here's something to think about. How could using these strategies change things for you, both when you're learning new things,
Mm-hmm.
but also when you're sharing your own ideas? Like, could it change how you see the world
I think so.
and the impact you have on it? It's not just about knowing stuff.
Right.
It's about like really understanding it
Yeah.
and then explaining it clearly
Yeah.
to other people.
Powerful stuff.